You're listening to the Job Talk with Jeannine podcast with Dr. Jeannine Bennett, a professional resume writer, career coach, LinkedIn expert, military transition expert, and published author. Through this podcast, Jeannine aims to answer all your job talk questions and help you get a career you love. And now, here's your host, Dr. Jeannine Bennett.
All right. Welcome back to another episode of Job Talk with Jeannine, where we bring you expert insights and advice on all things career related. I'm your host, Jeannine, and today's episode is focused on personal branding. And I have a special guest joining me to delve deeper into this topic. She's a fellow career expert and the founder of Your Career Partner, Jessica Visek. Jessica, it's fantastic to have you on the show today. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much, Jeannine. I'm really thrilled to be here and excited to delve in the world of personal branding with you.
Absolutely. And it's a topic that's more important than ever in today's competitive job market. So let's jump right in. To kick things off, could you explain what a personal brand is and why it's so crucial to career success?
Sure, no problem. A personal brand is essentially your personal signature. It's how you present your unique blend of skills, experience, and values. So certainly in today's saturated job market, a strong personal brand sets you apart. One, it makes you memorable and showcasing not just what you've done, but who you are and what you stand for. And realizing that it's more than a resume, it's a narrative that attracts aligned opportunities and resonates with employers, clients, and peers. In short, it's your key to standing out and propelling your career forward.
Wow, that's a great starting point. That was a lot in just that first response. So I'm excited to see what else you have to share with us through the session today. So let's get into the nitty-gritty of personal branding. Can you share some real-life examples of individuals who have successfully built and leveraged their personal brands to advance their careers?
Sure. I love this question. I did some research as I was preparing for this podcast, and I specifically geared my research on those in our space, in our career development space. And a couple examples popped up, and I welcome the audience to look them up. One example is Lindsay Pollock. She is actually a leading expert on the multi-generational workplace. She has carved herself by focusing on millennials. She's got books. She's done speaking engagements and consulting work. She is definitely the go-to expert on young professionals and their career trajectory. So if that's a population you target, I would look her up. She can provide some great insights. Another person that I found is Hannah Morgan. She's known as the career Sherpa. So that was interesting. Hannah has effectively used blogging and social media to share job search strategies, making her a recognized name in the career development space. And then a third example is Marshall Goldsmith. He's a author, executive coach, and leadership consultant. And he's built his brand around his work on executive coaching and leadership development. So if that's an area that is your area of focus, I would look him up and see if there's any information that you can add to your practice. But ultimately, each of these professionals that I've identified, each of these professionals identified gaps or specific needs in the career development realm. And their personal brands are built on authenticity, consistent value delivery, and deep understanding of their target audience's challenges and aspirations.
Great. I would also add to that, because as you were talking, I was thinking job seekers, you can look at any famous person, to be quite honest, look at the stars. Now we're going to talk about different platforms to use, and Jessica will take us through some different options. But just, think about how a star, a famous person, promotes themselves. They do it in a manner so that you know exactly what they're all about. And I'll say Taylor Swift is an example. And I remember when she first started off, but she was the one who was all about writing the love songs and the experience. And everybody knows that about her. That is her brand. And then think of authors. There's authors out there who, they write for a particular genre, and everything is based around romance, or everything is based around crime and suspense, or, that's the brand. So when you think about your personal branding, and again, Jessica's going to get into a lot of the things you should be thinking about, but as an overarching thought, think about, how you want to be perceived in the world, whether it's, you want to be perceived by employers in a particular manner, that you're a trustworthy individual that gets things done. Well, how can you portray that, say, on your LinkedIn or your website or other channels that you're using? And again, we're going to talk about that, but I just wanted to throw that out because as Jessica was speaking, it got me thinking about other channels that we see of famous people and how they present their brand. All right, Jessica. So let's delve into those questions. We have 10, friends, and hopefully we'll be able to get through all of them. So let's start with number 1. So Jessica, what are the key elements or components of a compelling personal brand that help someone stand out in the job market? Now, you actually touched on 2 of them when you said authenticity and consistency, but what else?
Yeah. So I would say the third would be your value proposition. So what makes you unique? And it's all about showcasing your unique skills, experience, and passions in a way that resonate. I want to underline that, resonate with your target audience. This includes a clear narrative, a consistent outline, an offline presence, and a commitment to continuous learning and growth.
Yes, I agree. Because when you have that unique selling proposition, if you will, that's your differentiation. That's how you're setting yourself apart from everyone else. You're identifying and emphasizing what sets you apart from others in your field. So I love that. So authenticity, unique selling proposition, consistency, all great points to remember, friends. All right, Jessica, how can individuals identify their unique strengths, skills, and values to incorporate into their personal brand? What can they do?
Great question. So first off, self-reflection is really critical in when you're tasked or needing to identify all of what Jeannine just mentioned. So one idea is that you could consider taking a personality or strength assessment or assessments. You can also seek feedback from peers, mentors, people that know you the best, that can give you honest, constructive feedback and insight and perspective, as well as reflecting on your past achievements and challenges. That is certainly a very helpful exercise. I would also say journaling and introspection can also help unearth those core values and unique skills.
Excellent. Excellent. So I heard self-reflection or self-assessment, seeking feedback from others. What about values exploration? Is that part of that core values piece that goes along with the self-assessment, would you say?
I would definitely agree with that. Definitely.
Okay. Awesome. Awesome. We're making it through the questions with good time. Excellent. All right. So are there any potential pitfalls or challenges that people should be aware of when working on their personal brand?
Absolutely. So I would say the biggest challenges revolve around being inauthentic or trying to really mold yourself based on a perceived market demand. That will definitely not benefit you in the long run. Another pitfall is the inconsistency across platforms. So it is very important that you obviously update your entire brand across the board, and not just updating one's brand as one evolves. Not updating one's brand as one evolves professionally. I mean, you have to just, again, it's all of that consistency. We'll circle back on that.
Awesome. Yeah, I would agree with you. If you're inauthentic, you risk harming your credibility, and you never want to do that, because once you do that, that's your reputation.
Mm-hmm.
And once you trash your own reputation, then it's hard to build that back up, and it's hard to have others see you in the manner that you want to be seen or perceived. So absolutely. And then lack of consistency. If your message is confusing, well, then you're confusing those who are trying to understand what you're trying to convey. So yes, I would also say neglecting online presence would be a pitfall. Ignoring your digital footprint, or well, I would just say that's a setback. And I don't want to go too much into that, because we do have a question that's going to address that. All right. So how's everybody doing? Everybody should be doing great, right? We're getting some great information from Jessica. All right. So budding professionals, what can they do, Jessica? What foundational steps would you recommend to establish a robust personal brand from the outset? For those new professionals, what can they do?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So first and foremost, start with self-awareness. Understand your strengths, understand your passions and your values. Even if you're young in your career, those still exist. And it's good to start at that point in your career, because ultimately that will evolve as you grow and as you develop as a professional. I would say next, ensure consistency. We've already said this. I know this keeps coming up. Consistency across all platforms, from LinkedIn to your personal websites. And I would say engage in continuous learning and seek feedback. So you're hearing those themes constantly throughout our conversation. So obviously those are really, really key.
Okay. I would also add, for new professionals, seek mentorship as well. There's a lot of good advice out there from people who have traveled before you and hold positions that you may desire. So reach out to them to get some professional guidance. See what they've done and what personal branding or professional branding they have, and ask them about it. Ask them what they did and what pitfalls they encountered. There's a lot of good advice to be found from others. All right. How can someone evaluate the effectiveness of their personal brand in terms of career advancement and job search success?
Absolutely. Measure engagement on digital platforms. LinkedIn definitely gives you that analytical feedback. And going back to seeking feedback during networking and assessing the quality and relevance of opportunities coming your way, then the alignment of job offers or collaborations will really go with your brand's promise. So that, I think, is a good way of truly evaluating the effectiveness of your brand.
I like that. I would also say it helps in measuring your goals, because you're setting these goals for yourself in all areas, right? For career progression, we all want to get to a certain point. So we have these goals. Same with the job search. We want particular jobs to get to the next level, or whatever the case may be. So as Jessica said, when you're monitoring that online presence and you're seeking feedback, that's also going to help you measure your goals to see if you're actually reaching them. All right, we're moving right along. We're actually at number 6. How do personal branding and networking synergize to amplify one's professional image?
Yeah, that's a great question. I really took some time to reflect on that. I would say your personal brand sets the narrative while networking amplifies it. So when you have a strong brand, networking becomes more effective as people clearly understand. Jeannine was talking about that earlier. Clearly understand who you are and what you bring to the table. So it goes back to that what makes you unique, that value proposition that we were speaking of earlier.
So what I'm hearing is you're emphasizing networking showcases your brand, and your personal brand is actually attracting people to you. Those connections are finding you. A strong brand then, in my mind, or as I tell my clients, can draw like-minded professionals. And together, networking and the personal branding element build that credibility, again, as Jessica was saying, and trust in your professional image. Did I get that all right, Jessica?
Yep, you got it. Well put.
Good. All right. Well, let's say we have our personal brand and everything's going good, and how frequently should we assess? Should we assess? Should we reassess our personal brand? Is there merit in conducting regular brand health checkups, if you will?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, just as a business conducts regular audits, you as a professional should do periodic brand health checks. This certainly ensures your brand remains relevant, authentic, and it aligns with your goals. So yes, it is really important to incorporate brand health checks.
Okay. So how consistent do you think we should do those? Like every 6 months, every year? What do you think?
Yeah, personally, I think it's very individualized. I think it depends on the person and what, I think we go back to kind of what their goals are at that moment in time. So I would definitely say it's very individualized. I would not pigeonhole yourself and say, well, I have to do this every 3 months because potentially, your situation could just remain constant at that point. So I would just keep your goals in mind and ensure that the goals align with, at that point, your brand or vice versa. So basically they're in tandem.
I like that. I know as a small business owner, you as well, we tend to do, 90 days, 6 months, yearly checks, to make sure that, we're still offering the services we want to offer. We're still presenting our image in a manner that reflects the services and our core values. And it's, again, like you said, it is individualized. But I know in my case, there's times where I want to offer lots of services. And then I realized that, for instance, I used to offer life coaching, not just career coaching and business coaching. And life coaching just was not my thing. I'm not about, helping people with relationships. I'm more about helping people find that job and on the business side, run their businesses. So I ended up swapping out the life coaching with author success coaching because I found that, as an author, other writers come to me wondering how I did that. So the assessment for me was more consistent, like Jessica said, regular checkups. I needed to do a little bit more frequent than maybe she did with her business. I'm not sure. But the point is it's individualized, whether you're, that career on that career journey and you're looking for promotions, or you're a job seeker looking for the next job, reevaluating what you have out there, what you're presenting is very individualized. So I appreciate what you were saying, Jessica, and you are absolutely right. It really just depends on you. All right. In the quest to resonate with potential employers, how can individuals ensure their personal brand remains authentic and true to their essence? I like that word, essence.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a great word. So stay true to your values and passions. So while evolving and adapting, it's okay, but it's essential not to lose sight of your core, as we just said, essence, the core of who you are. So we're going to hear this word again, authenticity. Authenticity resonates more than a well-crafted facade. I think that is important to recognize that. We talked earlier in our top in the podcast about aligning yourself to some external as we said, market demand. If that's not who you are, the core of who you are, then your brand will, again, not resonate, and it would come across as inauthentic.
Yeah, I think that goes back to what you were saying earlier about trying to figure out what your personal brand is when you said self-reflection, self-assessment. When you're looking at your core values, your core being, a lot of my clients will go through the question, what is your why? Your why is your core. For me, it's to be a light for others, to help them find their way. That's core in everything I do, whether it's as a wife or mother or grandmother. Oh gosh, I can't believe I just said that. I'm a grandmother. Anyway, and core to who I am as a business owner, a college professor, it's core in me, and to change would be inauthentic. I am that teacher, that guide. I've always been that way since I was young. So what is your why, folks? As you're thinking, going back to Jessica's, piece on self-assessment, if I don't know about you, Jessica, but I get a lot of clients that will come to me at the midlife point and ask, how did I get here? I am making all this money and things are great, but I'm miserable in my job and I hate what I'm doing. And, and part of that, I think, and I think you would agree, Jessica, you tell me if you do or not, but part of that goes back to somewhere along the line, you forgot about your core value and what your why was. And you followed, as she said, some market goal or, a title or a salary or whatever. And there's consequences sometimes to that when you don't, stay true to yourself. Would you agree, Jessica?
Oh, 100%. 100. And I have also had conversations with clients struggling with the same challenge.
Yeah, it's difficult. So friends, authenticity as your core value, stay true to that. Be consistent, be honest, and do that self-reflection and figure out, what your why is, and you won't go wrong. Right. Next question. We're at question 9, and I think this is one people have been waiting for, and I did allude to it. This is when we're going to talk about platforms. So, could you suggest any indispensable tools or platforms pivotal for redefining one's digital brand?
Mm-hmm. Well, I would say LinkedIn, and you've been hearing a lot, but
Absolutely.
LinkedIn is definitely I think the primary source or platform where professionals can showcase who they are, connect with others. Also, I think in many ways gain some influence or insight into how best to craft their personal brand if maybe they're struggling in that arena. And also from a networking perspective, find those mentors, find those individuals that could then help you uncover who you are, what your value is, and have, again, those frank conversations. I would say from a tool perspective, Canva is great on creating consistent visual branding. So I think those two, both from a platform and tools. What would you recommend, Jeannine, if a client asked you for that?
I'm with you. We're both certified LinkedIn professionals, so definitely all on board with LinkedIn. I remember actually about 15 years ago, might even be longer, when LinkedIn was kind of first. It had been out there, but it just was not, it was like a business directory. It really wasn't anything to get excited about. But I would say, or what would you say, last 5 years, it's really exploded. I mean, employers are using it as job platforms because it's cheaper for them to use all these other job boards and services. So it's really where you need to be. And I'll tell you, it's from, they look at your resume, friends. And if they like you and they put you in we want to interview you pile, so to speak, 9 times out of 10, they're going to go to LinkedIn to check you out, because on LinkedIn, they know they can see a picture. They know they can see your brand, what you're all about. Because remember, when you have a job, friends, when you are employed at a particular organization, you're there a lot of times more than you are home. When I used to work for the government many years ago, I spent 60 hours at work, so I had to get along with those people. And so that's what recruiters and hiring authorities, hiring managers are looking for. Are you going to be a good fit for their organization?
Mm-hmm.
So they're going to go to LinkedIn to check you out. What are you posting? What are you sharing? Are you sharing thoughtful information? Are you sharing credible information? What groups do you belong to? That kind of stuff. So definitely on board with LinkedIn. I would also add, you can use other social media, but you're just not going to get the same return on your effort, if you will, in doing so. But it goes kind of back to that networking piece. You can network anywhere. LinkedIn makes it so easy for us. Okay. But I will tell you, no matter what tool you do use, friends, make sure you're putting your best foot forward, because as a college professor as well, who has taught e-business and e-marketing and all the e stuff, your social footprint does not go away. You can delete things, but people can still find things. It's truly never gone. So be aware of what you're posting out there, because you always want to present the right image. You don't want to tarnish your personal brand. You're working too hard to build it up. So don't sabotage your own efforts. For those of you who are in various industries, say you're in graphic design or web design or something where you would have a portfolio of your work, I would recommend perhaps doing a personal website or having a blog. Those are great ways to showcase your talent. And even if you're not in those fields, in a creative field, if you will, do a blog. And LinkedIn's a great way to do a blog, actually. You don't even have to have a blog. LinkedIn allows you to write and post pictures that go along with those short articles, if you will. We won't go into that. I'll have to have Jessica on and we'll do a LinkedIn tutorial and give advice on that. So we won't delve too deep, but LinkedIn actually offers a lot of different tools, and blogging is one of them really on the site. Building that, again, online presence with LinkedIn and just creating that professional profile. So I agree. I have heard that Twitter or X, formerly known as Twitter, is creating a platform like LinkedIn that they're in beta right now. We'll see where that goes. Could be a viable option. It's just not quite there yet. Do you know anything more about that, Jessica?
No, I mean, I've heard the same. I also heard Instagram is probably going in that direction as well. I think ultimately, to stay competitive, those other social media platforms need to become more than what they are, to diversify their functionality. So I think for us as career development professionals, we part of our job is certainly to be aware of those trends, and then be savvy enough and educated enough to then speak to that to our clients. So.
Yes, agree. I'm excited. I like competition. I like, other opportunities, and anything that will help a job seeker or a professional, gain an advantage. I'm all for it. But again, we're watching, as professionals in the field, we're watching to see what happens. But, just like we, before the show started, Jessica and I were talking a little bit about AI, artificial intelligence and stuff. So just like all the technology that's coming out, it's just something to watch. And that's what we do. This is our full-time job. These are not side gigs for us. So we, just like you throw yourself into your position at work, that's what we do in our field. So we'll keep you posted on that. And we'll do another podcast on perhaps the status of different platforms in the future. All right. So the last question we have is, how does personal branding dovetail with establishing oneself as a thought leader or industry maven. I like
Yeah.
that, industry maven.
Yes. So certainly a strong personal brand lays the foundation for thought leadership. So as you consistently, heard that word again, consistently deliver value, showcase your expertise in your niche, your area of focus, you then naturally position yourself as a industry maven or thought leader. So as Jeannine and I were talking in our industry, that I think is something for us to then differentiate ourselves from our quote unquote competitors or peers, is to show our value, i.e. I personally blog, I personally write content, I certainly volunteer for various organizations within our field, to then gain that experience, gain that knowledge, and then again share that with peers or share that with clients. So you as a job seeker or as a professional, the same would hold true.
And she comes on podcasts to share her expertise as well. Can't forget that.
Very true. Very true. Well, the obvious. Yes, definitely.
Well, excellent insights, Jessica. Thank you for sharing your expertise on personal branding, and it's important in today's job market. Before we wrap up, could you leave our listeners with one key takeaway or a piece of advice on this topic?
Mm-hmm. So certainly. So personal branding isn't just a singular task to check off. Say, okay, well, I've taken care of my personal brand, I'm all set. It is an evolving process of self-awareness, growth, and dedication. So you're making a strategic investment. So I say this to my clients or even prospects that when they come and work with me as a career coaching client, this is an investment in your professional future by consistently cultivating and honing your professional brand. So I would say that really internalize that, listeners.
Awesome. Well said, Jessica. Thank you for being a fantastic guest, as always, and for sharing your knowledge with our audience today. And thank you, listeners, for tuning in to Job Talk with Jeannine. Remember, your personal brand is your ticket to career success, so start crafting it today. And friends, if you want to connect with Jessica, you can find her at yourcareerpartner.net. As always, you can find Job Talk with Jeannine on visiontopurpose.com, our website, or on your favorite audio channel, Spotify, Audible, iHeartRadio, and many more. That's all for today's episode. Stay tuned for more valuable career insights in the future. Have a wonderful day.
Bye, all.